Alright, so equations today, solving using matrices. Now, there are a couple ways you can solve systems of equations. You can use substitution, you can use elimination, you can use graphing, and the last way that's the least talked about is by using matrices. And what we're going to do is, we're going to use the coefficients of this system to create what's called an augmented matrix. So what I do is, I draw my brackets, and I'm going to take the numbers in front of the x's and the y's to make an augmented matrix. So in front of the x I have 2, in front of the y I have a -1, and over here on this side I'm going to put the numbers. So the -2 is going to go over here. Okay, now to get the next row. I have a 3 in front of the x, I put that right here. I have a 1 in front of the y, and then I have a 17 that's on the number side. So I'm going to put that over here. Now the point of this is, I want to take this augmented matrix and I want to find some way to turn it into this. 1, 0, 0, 1. I want to find some way to take this and make it into this. And once I do make it into this, my answers are going to be in the form x and y over here on the answer side. So how do I do this? I'm going to take the first augmented matrix and I'm going to try and make the first row into 1, 0 and the first column into 1, 0. So here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to take the matrix that we started off with, the 2, -1, 3, 1, -2, 17, and what I want to do is I want to change the first number into a 1. So how can I do that? Well, I can start off by multiplying the entire first row by 1/2. If I multiply the entire first row by 1/2, that 2 will change into a 1. So what do I get when I do that? Well, the bottom row is going to stay the same. I haven't done anything to that yet. But the first row is going to change. If I multiply by 1/2, I'm going to get 1, -1/2, and -1. So I multiply every single number in the first row by 1/2. The next thing I want to do is I want to change the 3 into a 0. So I want to take this 3 and change it into a 0. How can I do that? Well, what I can do is I can multiply the top row by -3 and then add it to the second row. So what I'm doing is I'm going to multiply the top row, which is row 1, I'm going to multiply that by -3 and add it to row 2. And then I'm going to replace row 2 with that result. Okay? So the top row is going to remain the same. I'm still going to have 1, -1/2, and -1. The top row is going to stay the same, but the bottom row is going to change. So if I multiply the top row by -3, I'll get -3 right here, and if I add that to the +3, I'm going to get that 0 that I want. Next, if I multiply the -1/2 by -3, I'm going to get +3 over 2. If I add 3 over 2 to 1, I'm going to get 5 over 2. And then lastly, I'm going to take this -1 up here and I'm going to multiply it by -3. And that's going to give me +3. And if I add that +3 to the 17 down here, I'm going to get 20. So now the first column has changed into 1, 0. And now I just need to change the second column into 0, 1. So how can I change this 5/2 into a 1? How can I do that? Well, I could multiply 5/2 by its reciprocal, right? I could change that into a 1 by multiplying the entire bottom row by 2 over 5. So what I'm doing is I'm multiplying the entire row 2 by 2/5, and then I'm going to get a 1 right here. Okay, so I'm going to multiply the entire bottom row by 2/5. And when I'm doing this, the top row is going to remain the same. So I'm still going to have 1, -1/2, and -1. But the bottom row is going to change into 0, 1, and if I multiply 20 by 2/5, I'm going to get 40/5, which is 8. Okay, so I'm almost there. The last thing I have to do is change the -1/2 into a 0. So I want to change this -1/2 into a 0. So how can I do that? Well, I would have to add 1/2 to it, right? And to do that, I would multiply the bottom row, which is row 2. I would have to multiply the bottom row by 1/2. So I'm going to get 1/2 times row 2 plus row 1 is going to change row 1. So let's look and see what happens to do that. What happens is, since I'm changing row 1, the bottom row is going to stay the same. So I'm still going to have 0, 1, and 8. Now what's going to happen to the top row? Well, I need to multiply the bottom row by 1/2 and then add it to the top row. So I'm still going to get a 1 up here because I'm multiplying 0 by 1/2. If I multiply this 1 by 1/2, I will get 1/2, and when I add that to -1/2, I'll get 0. Great. So now the last thing I need to do is multiply the 8 by 1/2 and add that to the -1. So 8 times 1/2 is 4. 4 plus -1 is 3. And there we go. So now, this part of the matrix over here, this little 2 by 2 matrix, is called the identity matrix. The identity matrix of dimensions 2 by 2. And that basically just means it has the 1, 0, 0, 1 that I want. And then over here, I have my answers. Now remember when I said we would put x and y on the right side? Well, x is going to be the first number. So this 3 is going to give me my x. So x is 3. And then the y down here is going to be 8. So y has to be 8. So now I know what x and y is. I can write my answer in an ordered pair, 3, 8. So what I'm trying to do is, I'm basically trying to take the first matrix that I get and change it into the identity matrix. This matrix right over here, 1, 0, 0, 1. And I do this column by column. I move with column 1 first, and I want to make that into 1, 0. And then what I want to do is I want to take column 2, and then I want to make that into 0, 1. So column 2 has to be changed into 0, 1. And then the third column, the x, y over here, that's going to be the solution to my system. So I hope that helps.